Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Long time, no?
It's been a long time. I don't know, 2 weeks?
Where
more?
have you been?
I was away. I ran away.
Yeah.
But I came back.
Okay.
I went to London.
London?
To the big world, the big city.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
It was summer there too. When we planned for it in February, I thought, this will be like a beautiful, relaxing, cool break. And it was cool in comparison, only 30 degrees,
Yeah.
not 38. Yeah.
Go.
We read?
Read.
Okay. So the last time you had moved to your country place and then you were alone there after a while.
Ah, yes, I remember.
And then you had 3 goats for milk and to make cheese. And we're running around barefoot everywhere. Now, this new chapter that we start today is called The Watermill. I thought I had a pen here somewhere. Ah, here, yes. The Watermill. After several months of being alone in my olive grove, I met a Spanish woman who later became my wife. Her name was Ana. With the financial help of her parents, we bought the ruins of a former watermill in the same valley, a little further down the river. Surrounded by 3 pieces of land that were laid out in terraces and served as a garden, I was able to start restoring a house again. Someone from my wife's family had told us about a healer, supposedly someone who could help in a miraculous way. That was something that really interested me. So we took advantage of our first discomfort to visit this man. So when you were not feeling well,
Claro.
we were instructed to go very early in the morning because many people came to him and asked for help. Since the healer's home was not nearby, we decided to sleep in our camper van on his doorstep. The alarm went off around 6 a.m. and we ate a meager breakfast in our vehicle. Afterwards, we smoked a joint. We only did that very rarely, only on a special occasion. And this seemed to be one. Then we went to the healer's front door, where a few people were already waiting to be let in. After a short while, the door opened and a young woman invited us all to enter. There, everyone sat down in a kind of living room to wait to be called to see the healer. When it was our turn, the woman asked us to enter the room where the healer, Don Carlos, was sitting behind a desk. Without greeting us, he looked at me and said, "The poison is still in the body." Then he welcomed us and asked us to take a seat. Did you know what he referred to in that moment?
Smoking the joint. Was quite clear.
Don Carlos instructed me to extend my right hand to him, palm upward. Nobody spoke. He took a ballpoint pen and drew small crosses on the lines of my hands. Then he said that my right knee was hurting and that I had a cold settled in my bronchi, in your lungs. He was right in both comments. He gave me a plant-based medicine. There was a strange atmosphere in this room. I felt like my head was whitewashed, similar to the bookstore in Istanbul. As we said goodbye, Don Carlos wished Anna a happy birth of our first son. A healthy and cute child, as he said. No one had told the healer anything about Anna's pregnancy. Over the next few months, we visited the healer several times. I confessed to Anna that I was convinced that there was no need to show Don Carlos one's hands, that he saw absolutely nothing there, and that the crosses had no meaning whatsoever. He later confirmed this to us. So then the crosses are for the benefit of the person sitting there to believe, to
He
show
said to
that
me,
he's doing
it's-
something.
It's to calm you down, showing that he's doing something, because you will never understand what he is doing, because he does not understand what he is doing. It's just happening.
It just comes. Yeah. Our first son was born on this property, which was right next to the stream and accessible via a wooden bridge. Due to the alternative way of life we had adopted, we were determined to give birth to this child here alone, without any outside help. Anna apparently had enough courage and trust in me. I had prepared myself with books on obstetrics and syringes. A scalpel and bandages were ready. I also took blood from myself and then injected it back into my muscle to see if I was capable of doing it. What were you planning to do with that blood?
That advice came from one of these wonderful alternative homeopathic doctors in Germany. He said, what you can do, you can take your own blood, no, and then inject it here, no, just to find out if you are able to do that. No? Maybe in that moment, oh, you cannot, no? That caused a terrible reaction to me. Absolutely terrible, that I had to go to a hospital in a skin reaction, and they said they have to, it's a vegan hospital, we have to burn all that and blah blah blah, and finally with the healer it went away. So yeah.
What was your plan though? I mean, you have
The plan that maybe I have to give an injection to her and then I'm not able to do that.
just any injection.
Any injection, anything. I had all prepared, or I have to
Suture.
sew her. If I cannot even push a needle in, how could I do that? So I wanted to do something to see if I'm able to do that.
You were able to do it.
I was able.
Shortly before the long-awaited day, my friend Robert showed up with his companion Evelyn. Evelyn was a nurse,
Thank God.
and had helped with birth in the hospital several times. This visit was a godsend. I don't think I would have been able to handle this situation on my own. On the day of the birth, early in the morning, Robert's dog, a female setter, sat down next to Anna and pressed her entire body weight against her legs. No one could convince her to go anywhere else. They just know.
And she recently had puppies.
Puppies.
No, and she came sitting next to her and then pressing her whole body against her leg. And when I saw that, I said, today the child will come.
When I saw this, I knew that the birth would take place today. And that's how it was. Evelyn did all the work practically alone, and a small, healthy boy came into this world. We gave him the name Hans. Once I tied Hans to his little wooden seat on the bridge so that he wouldn't fall into the water, and went into the kitchen for a moment.
Now that was a time when we, for our camper van, I made a wooden seat with this thing around that you could open, and he was sitting in the middle, in between the driver and the co-pilot. No? So
And
there
so
was
that-
not even any
Seatbelt.
seat belt or whatever. And that thing, I tied it on the bridge
So
for
he
him to
wouldn't
sit
fall.
there to enjoy.
Suddenly a vision appeared to me. I saw Hans and the huge head of a horse right in front of him. I ran to the bridge, and there was a large mare standing there, looking at the boy with curious eyes, just 10 centimeters from his face. When the animal noticed me, it slowly backed away. Hans had apparently enjoyed this encounter because he didn't make a single sound. A few years passed. I often remembered the people I met in Istanbul.
So there was the question. It was me perceiving a vision, or it was him sending a vision.
Or the horse communicating.
You never know.
Yeah.
You will never know. You just can observe what is happening, but you don't know how it's going.
I often remembered the people I met in Istanbul. The images of the meetings they held there every Thursday evening came back to me and filled my eyes with tears. How far back was it all? It was very far back. Too far. Finally, we decided to sell the watermill again. We advertised in Germany and a buyer came with his wife to view the property. When we reached the front door, there was a long, colorful snake lying on the doorstep. That was it, I thought, convinced they wouldn't buy the house. But, on the contrary, they were breeding vipers in Germany to sell the poison for medical purposes, and they bought our property with complete enthusiasm.
The guy went, he grabbed the snake, said to his wife, take the camera, take the camera. He was holding the snake and he was making photos. And that cannot be true. I mean, the normal thing would have been coming from Germany, say, no, thank you. That's not possible for us. No, they bought it.
We bought a larger farm in the hope of being able to lead.
And there were vipers in the valley because once they made a training for soldiers, and these soldiers were running around and any snake they found, they grabbed and then they were making jokes with it and put the snake into their shirt.
Oh.
And one was a viper and bit the soldier, and before he was in Sevilla in the hospital he was dead. Tiny little things. Yes.
We bought a larger farm in the hope of being able to lead a greater life there. But far from
The
it.
greater life was more work. We were not even able to make the work on that small ground. Okay.
But far from it. There was just a lot more work. Life seemed difficult for me and ultimately unbearable. The skin problem of my youth had resurfaced on the legs. The idea of taking my life went through my head more and more. Of course, I said nothing about that to Anna. I had told her about my experiences in Turkey, but she didn't seem to be enthusiastic about it. The day came when I confessed to her that I couldn't continue living like this. I suggested visiting Don Carlos. He should tell me what to do. If he advised me to go to Istanbul, I would do so. If a trip to Turkey should not be agreed upon, we would stay here, and then the inevitable would happen. My trust in the healer was now complete. After I tried once to prove that he too could be wrong and I completely failed in my attempt, I was cured of my doubts. The following had happened. A woman with serious thyroid problems appeared with us and asked me to accompany her to the healer. She had told me her full history of illness, and as a translator I had to enter Don Carlos's room with her. The healer diagnosed a liver disorder. I was happy about his mistake. Don Carlos, the doctor, said. He interrupted me abruptly and repeated to me the entire disease history of the woman.
He just said, shut up. And then he repeated the whole story of that woman. Everything. He knew everything.
Repeated in a sense he had not heard it before. He just narrated it.
He repeated what she told me before.
I see something that the doctors cannot see. He knew every little detail. And then he added that she had suffered from hepatitis as a little girl, but no one had noticed this. And to heal her, you had to treat her liver.
The story was, for people to understand, she told me that she had these problems and she could die of that because she couldn't breathe. And the doctors couldn't help her. So finally she got a medicament based on plants from Mexico, and they told her that would serve her for 3 years and after 3 years it would not serve any longer. But hopefully, maybe in these 3 years, the science would find out something for that disease. So for 3 years she would be safe. And Don Carlos just repeated that. He said, yes, I know, it's her glands, and the doctors, they don't know what to do, and they gave her plant medicine from Mexico. It will serve for 3 years, and blah, blah, blah. But why she has that? Because she had a hepatitis when she was a young girl, and the doctors cannot see that.
It's magical, no? Since I came into a kind of trance state every time we visited the healer, in which I couldn't make a word out, I had prepared a piece of paper this time. All the questions I wanted to ask Don Carlos were written down there. When we entered his room, the healer began to smile. Yes, this time I prepared myself. May I ask you a few questions? Of course, was his answer. I had the desire to become his student, to be able to live near him. Can you teach me what you do? The answer was an absolute no. What I do is a gift of the Creator, and He gives the gifts to whom and when He wants. Then I asked if there were people in this world who could bring me closer to God. Don Carlos replied with, yes. I don't speak of a belief that most people share out there. I'm looking for a deeper degree of being close. Yes, there are such people. Can you do that for me? No, was his answer. I only have permission to heal the body, but not the mind or soul. I know everything about you, your past, your here and now, as well as your future. But it's not my job to interfere here.
You see now what's happening with Isidro?
Yeah.
That's the same thing. They have a certain spectrum of the job, and we have another.
Yes. Isidro is
A
the
healer we are going now to visit.
Yes.
Because the story does not end with the boat. I mean, we are still on the same boat.
I told the healer about my experiences in Istanbul, and he confirmed that these people could help me. It can take 7 weeks, 7 months, or 7 years. And he added, saying this to Anna, during this time, you don't open your mouth. You do whatever these people demand from your husband. The people there can't help you. It's just about him. The only one who can help you is Thomas. But first, he needs a little support. In his case, it's not about whether he wants to travel to Turkey or not. It is his duty to go there, so that he can then help others.
You see that openness. I mean, the logical thing would have been that he would have said, oh, go to a monastery here in Spain or in Portugal or wherever, a Christian monastery, because he, supposedly everything was based on Christianism, not Christianity. No, he said, no, I can see that these people touched you and they are able to give it to you. I mean, that's something big.
Yeah.
No, it's like when the healer asks you, the healer we go now, and he asks you, do you believe in something bigger? And you said, yes, I do. And you ask him, should I give it a name? And he said, no.
Yeah. They are aware that it's the one.
The one, and they don't try to bring you to their pattern of belief, because it's simply a pattern of belief. It's not maybe inside, then there's real belief, and that real belief for everyone is exactly the same.
Yeah.
But different people follow different patterns. Not to have a routine, to have a company, to belong to a group or whatever. No?
And even when Isidro recommends to wear something for protection, it is usually Christian saints. So because that is his world.
That's his world.
No? Or the world in which he operates mostly, yeah. Anna asked the healer whether he hadn't noticed the skin disease which had occurred on my legs again, but was covered by my clothing at that moment. Before you got here, I had become aware of it. This is a sign he has with God. And then turning towards me, he said, "Do you want me to take it away?" "Leave it as it is," was my prompt answer. Because this is a sign that it just was that sentence. This is a sign that he has with God. So taking that away, that is like the pregnant lady. Not pregnant. Was it in Mongolia, the story that you told me? You can tell the story?
A woman came here from Australia. She was traveling around the world with children of rich people. And she came to Mongolia, and she was in the capital. Her words, the ugliest town or city in the world, and maybe it is. So, and being there, she suddenly saw a big tent, and she asked the people, "What is this tent for?" And they told her, "Yeah, a big shaman will come here, and we are invited to go there." And she asked, I can go with the children?" And the people said, "Yes, of course, you can go." So they went, and then there was a kind of stage, and that shaman was on the stage, and then maybe singing or drumming or dancing, and suddenly they heard the noise of wings coming towards the tent, and a very huge eagle came towards the tent, landed in front of the tent, and then walked through the people towards the shaman. She said, "We were all afraid. That was a very big animal." I don't know what happened. The animal walked there, turned around and went out and flew away again. And then the shaman in one moment said, "Okay, all of you stand in a row." And he gave a cookie to each one of us. And she said, when he came to me, he looked at me and he said, "You will give birth to a very beautiful child." And she got afraid because just recently she had quit with her boyfriend, and she said, "Oh wow, now I'm pregnant from that boy." And she said to the shaman, No, I don't want. And the shaman said, "Okay, if you don't want, you are free. If you don't want, then nothing." And then she said for 2 weeks she was with very severe pain in the belly, and that's it. But the shaman did not refer to a physical child. He referred to a spiritual child. You call the gift that you get from the Creator. We call that the spiritual child. And the shaman saw that and said, "Well, yeah, you will be one of the benefactors on this planet." But of course you can reject it. You can say, "No, I don't want." But she was rejecting without knowing what the shaman was talking about. So then I told her, "Where you go now?" And she said, "To Madagascar." I said, "Okay, just at the airport there will be someone. Don't reject. If you want, now you know what it is, don't reject it again." That's the story.
Do you know what happened after that?
No.
Yeah, so if he had taken away that skin disease, maybe he would also have taken away
The gift.
Today there was a small sign on his desk that said, "Excuse me, but I'm forced to charge 300 pesetas for each visit." That was about 3 euros today. Don Carlos explained that there were many people who came to him without really being sick, simply because one felt good in his presence. But these people took the place of others who came to seek healing. When I took out my wallet to pay as I was leaving, Don Carlos said in a very serious tone, "No, I am not allowed to accept money from you." To this day, more than 30 years ago, I have not once paid the healer any money.
Well, I don't know if that's written there. What I did later, when I had my group of students and we were getting in contact with him, "I have a cold, I have this or that," and then I agreed with him. I said, "Okay, from me, you are not allowed to take any money, but from these people, yes. So I will take the money from them, and then I will send it. And for years I did that. When I had maybe 50 euros or 100 euros or whatever, I would send that by post to him. I said, you will not work for all these people without getting anything. And with the new healer, it's the same. He does not take money from no one. And I said to him, no, I don't agree with that. If you want me to bring people here, I will pay for these people.
Yes.
Because we are living in a modern world, we are not in Middle Ages. So, I mean, you have a four-wheel drive, you need your firewood, you have your cell phone, and blah, blah, blah. All that needs to be paid, and you have to arrange the house. I would just want to help him to arrange that a little bit. And it's working because they are arranging a lot. Recently, they have done a lot of things, so that's our way to contribute. But he said, no, I don't take money from no one.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
it
it's
happened
also
several times with people. It's a sign for me. So for example, that I reserved some sessions online with a medium, and then the medium never took the money. And I insisted, and no, and then I bought some pendulum for dowsing from Poland. That was more than 100 euros, and no, they never accepted the money. So that's for me a sign that these people know with whom they are dealing.
Yes. It also said here that he started to put the sign because people used to come to him just because they felt good in his presence, but then were taking the spots of other people. Many times when we go to Isidro, or sometimes when we go to Isidro, the people who we bring are not people who have a physical challenge. He's a physical healer, but
he enjoys the people we bring, because the people who are normally coming to him are only they come for physical ailments.
Yes.
No, because that's his job. But we come with people, many people we bring, their destiny is to become a helper or a benefactor.
Yes.
And we bring that out, and he can confirm it, no? And then, so he's quite happy when we come with these kind of people, because they are simply different. They are the black sheep of society.
So a small car was bought, a Renault 4.
Oh, how beautiful.
In order to be able to transfer the car's papers to Anna's name, we had to drive to Huelva city. I was driving the vehicle, and as we entered
If by chance anyone knows that car still, that's a very, very small car. I converted it into a camper van.
Well, you are creative.
And we went to Istanbul with our camper van.
So you had to drive to Huelva. I was driving the vehicle, and as we entered a smaller village, I saw a man walking to the middle of the road, looking in our direction and stopping at the white median. So he had seen us, I supposed. I wasn't driving fast, but suddenly the man took a step forward and stood right in front of our car. Every attempt to avoid him was in vain. We heard a thud and saw the man fly several meters through the air. Then he remained motionless on the side of the road. I stopped the car. Since I didn't have a Spanish or international driver's license, I asked my wife to say that she had been driving. But one look at her face made me stop thinking about it. She was pale, about to fall over.
And she's not pale. But in that moment she was pale.
White. What I say, white as a sheet.
White.
The accident had happened right opposite the police station. The officers came across the street to us. The accident victim, who we believed to be dead, was an elderly man. The police officers went to him, grabbed him under the arms and lifted him up. They put the man on his feet, and he screamed pitifully. He was laid on the ground again, and an ambulance arrived. The driver and his companion took out a cot, placed the injured man on it, and pushed him through the back doors into the ambulance. The driver slammed the doors. Another terrible scream. The poor man's legs were not fully inside the car and were trapped between the two doors.
He had both legs broken.
Oi. So what you couldn't do with your Renault 4,
No, they could
they
with the
could
doors.
do.
Oh wow.
It turned out that the injured man.
Andalusia is different. Eh?
It turned out that the injured man was a blind man. The police invited us to the station and we explained how the accident happened. They said we didn't have to worry. The man was well known in the village and it was not the first time he had caused an accident. I learned about his love of smoking cigars. So after renewing our car documents, we drove to the hospital. Previously, we had bought a box of cigars and a few chocolates. The man was lying on a bed. Both of his legs were broken. He apologized for causing us any inconvenience. He had misjudged the situation. The man thought our vehicle had already passed him.
I mean, that man, an old man, he was lying there in pain. And we came in and he looked, he was blind, but he turned towards us and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for that I caused that to you." Well, I caused something to you, my dear. I'm not in the hospital. Wonderful.
I converted the Renault 4, this mini vehicle, into a camping car so that we could sleep comfortably in it. When you opened the back door, it served as a roof. A long board was pulled out and we used it to extend the bed. A tent-like tarp closed the annex on both sides. Everything was ready to begin the new journey.
Okay?
Okay,
Okay.
next week or whenever, Istanbul again, dream of many years.
Yes.
All right, very good.
Okay. So, bye-bye.